I'm Morgan Robinson, and I'm doing my presentation on a Prezi, and I'm also going to be discussing leadership tactics that can be employed in neutralizing hate groups. And by the text you can read, it says I'm Morgan Robinson, and I am, so here we go. Topics discussed, introduction, background of hate groups, and the leadership tactics, of course. And you can see my pretty little thing going on here. So, why hate groups? It's a funny little saying, but hate groups have been around since the early civilizations. So when I say early civilizations, think of like the great Roman Empire and, Greece and just people like that, Greeks. Some of the worst hate groups was around in World War II and was the Nazis. When we think of hate groups, people automatically think KKK, just people like that. They don't really think of Nazis. They may think of other subgroups of Nazis, but they don't think strictly Nazis. But, Nazis are a hate group. So, being in Kentucky, I live in Kentucky, some of the hate groups in Kentucky are the KKK, like I mentioned, neo-Nazis, which are a subgroup of Nazis, and black nationalists. What makes them a hate group? And what do they do? So, my own personal definition of a hate group is basically the reasons these groups are a hate group is because of their hatred for another group of people who aren't exactly like their own. Basically people who form a group and say, we don't like this person because their skin, their race, what they believe in, just anything that they can attack, and they go to an extent, is a hate group. So, like I said, in regards to the KKK, because where we live in Kentucky, some of their actions that they do, and some mean ain't a good term. Well, mean is a good term. So they have they do cross burnings, and cross burnings are orchestrated ritual. This is where they either burn crosses straight up or they burn crosses in people's yards. Being from southeastern Kentucky, I am from Laurel County or London, however you want to put it, and just below us is Corbin. And Corbin is well known for still having Klans meetings and having very racist people still there. So that's a big part down here, and you see it every day, and it's troublesome. So some of the antics of the black nationalists is they burn down churches. Some of them did, not all of them. And this occurred during some of the during the time of Martin Luther King and their fights for equal rights and stuff like that. So also down here it says, the defining features of neo-Nazis belief provides groups in this minuscule social constellation with a set of commonly observed perceptions that have their genesis in Nazi Germany. So basically, neo-Nazis believed about the same as the Nazis did in Germany. So we do have these over in America. There's some, neo-Nazis happen all over. And they basically believe the Aryan race is top-notch, I guess you could say. So, some more information. And I threw this in there just as a little side note because it's weird to think that a church, especially a Baptist church, being in the Bible Belt, but a church that is formed around, peace, love, and all that can be a hate group. But they can be. For example, the Westboro Baptist Church If you haven't heard of them, I'm sure you have, but just a little information on them. Their pastor was Fred Phelps. I believe he did pass away, and their church is located in Kansas. Little antics they do is protest soldiers' funerals. So they go up and you're about to see some of the things they call people and stuff. So that leads to a question, can a church be a hate group? And that's just something to think on. Can a church be a hate group? And from example A, I believe some can. Not saying all are, I am Baptist, but some go way too far into it. So in some it says signs, more specifically targeted deceased Snyder included, "You're going to hell, God hates you, Semper Fi," I ain't gonna say that word, "and thanks God for dead soldiers," which is really awful and just demeaning. And you could argue that this is a cult more than a church. But anyways, I'll get off this topic. Just wanted to let you know that hate groups can come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. So, down to the leadership tactics. So, as a leader, some of the tactics that you can use to neutralize a hate group, in my opinion, is speak up and take action. So, as a leader, you have to speak up, because if you don't speak up, what leader are you? You're not one if you don't speak up and, lead, obviously. Take action. And this to me means don't sit behind, a office chair and just start typing on a computer or, on Twitter. "Oh, this, we got to do this, we got to do that." Go out there and do it yourself, Take action. Be a part of it. Lead people the right way, and take action against these hate groups. Show respect and kindness, which this is a real hard one. As a leader, you have to be the bigger person. These hate groups are going to dig low, and there's an old saying, "Kill them with kindness," and I believe this would definitely be a good point with these hate groups. If you want to neutralize them, kill them with kindness. Be respectful. Be kind. Even though they're not going to be kind to you, be kind back. Show them who the bigger person is. Maybe they can change hearts through seeing how good of a person you are, or just stuff like that. Don't back down. As a leader, you don't run away from your fights. When times get tough, you gotta put your nose to the grindstone and go right on at it. So don't back down from these hate groups. If you set your mind and, let's say the Westboro Baptist Church, and you want to neutralize them and, all that, and you get death threats and stuff like that, 9 out of 10 times, nothing's going to happen. Don't back down. You got to stick to your gut, and you got to go with it. You got to, like I said, don't back down. Ask questions. What leader don't ask questions, especially to his followers, and, so my point across with this, ask these hate group people, questions like, "Why are you doing this?" "How do you feel about this?" Just stuff like that. And maybe hearing them themselves say that will get them to understand, maybe how silly they sound, or, how ignorant, if you could say. So just ask them questions. Get to know what they think, and then hopefully they can ask you questions, and then you can answer them back in a response, and then, maybe y'all can talk it out or whatnot. So, teach what you preach. So, in my personal opinion, there's teaching and preaching is two different things. You can preach all you want. I can sit here and I can preach about how Western Kentucky needs to lower tuition prices, or I can preach about how Western